Hey guys, John here. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Let's talk Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, chapters 9 and 10. Now, chapter 9 starts out, we immediately get a glimpse into Harry's mind. Harry is self-conscious about the upcoming flying lessons because Gryffindor is sharing a lesson with Slytherin. Like I've said before, I always like getting a glimpse into Harry's mind to see what he's thinking about because it's very difficult to portray that on film. But we get the glimpse into his head. We know that he's self-conscious, not just about Slytherin, but about Draco Malfoy. He doesn't want to make a fool out of himself in front of Draco, let alone the rest of Slytherin. And I can totally get that because Slytherin can be a little unforgiving. But even with all of this going on in Harry's mind, Ron is trying to be a good friend and encourage him and let him know that it's not that big a deal. Something else I like about how this chapter starts is that the flying lesson naturally leads into Quidditch. And we get to see what a significant part of the culture Quidditch really is. Families sit together and watch Quidditch like we would watch football or soccer. The kids have their favorite teams, have their favorite players. They know all about it. I'm sure there's even Quidditch trading cards. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure they got them. At one point, Ron is arguing with Dean Thomas about the appeal of soccer, or I guess I should say the lack thereof. But Harry's nervous about the flying lesson, and even Hermione is nervous about the flying lesson, because let's face it, you can't learn to fly on a broom by reading a book. Ron, on the other hand, is pretty confident in it. He's probably been flying since he was a kid. He's still a kid. A lot of the students are sharing their stories about their close calls and run-ins and different things that they've encountered when they've been flying on their brooms. So Harry comes in and he has no idea how to fly a broom, has no idea what Quidditch is. So he's got a lot to learn. At this point in the story, we're introduced to a new character, Madam Hooch. Ah, those eyes! Madam Hooch is described in the book exactly like she looks in the movie. And that's scary.
Stick your right hand over the broom and say up.
Wow. When Madam Hooch starts the lesson, we see that some of the students are struggling to get their brooms off the ground, and Hermione is no different. And this is pretty out of the ordinary for Hermione because she really excels in a lot of things. But like I said, you can't teach broom riding out of a book. Ron gets nailed in the face and Harry laughs and laughs. Wait a minute. I thought Ron knew how to fly a broom. Now, a difference between the book and the movie that could seem pretty insignificant is how Neville is described taking off on his broom and falling. In the book, he goes up prematurely and goes up about 20 feet and he falls. Now in the movie, it's more drawn out.
Mr. Long, Mr. Longbottom!
We get to see a lot of flying around, circling. He goes up to the roof and then he falls to the roof, gets hung on a spear, falls to the ground, rips his coat, and then we see him break his wrist.
Oh dear, it's a broken wrist. Poor boy, come on now, up you get.
But hey, I get it. It's a movie. You got to make it more dramatic, more visually appealing, and that they did. And I got to say, for a movie that's 20 years old now, the visual effects are pretty good. As Madam Hooch is walking Neville to the hospital wing, we see Draco grab Neville's Remember-All, and he starts mouthing off.
Did you see his face? Maybe if the fat lump had given this a squeeze, he would remember to fall on his fat ass. Give it here, Malfoy.
And Harry, being Harry, steps up. Harry doesn't let a bully intimidate him, and that's one of the reasons why I like him. Draco grabs the Remember-All and says, oh, maybe I'll throw it somewhere for him to find it later, and takes off on his broom. And what does Harry do? Without ever being on a broom, he takes off after Malfoy. So you're telling me a kid with no flying experience can take off on a broom? You're telling me an 11-year-old that has no idea what Quidditch is, or even seen a broom flying, can take off and be one of the greatest Quidditch players that the school has ever seen? Is that what you're telling me? Okay, I believe it. Now, one thing I thought of when Harry and Malfoy are flying around on the brooms is Draco Malfoy does not care the least bit about following the rules, because he knows if he gets caught, his daddy will be there to get him off the hook.
Give it here, Malfoy, or I'll knock you off your broom! Is that so? Have it your way, then.
What a spoiled little brat that kid is. So they're up in the air, they're flying around. Draco throws the Remember-All. Harry catches it. Now in the book, the way it's described is it's fallen to the ground, and Harry swoops in and kind of dives under it to catch it and kind of does a hard landing. In the movie, we get him catching the Remember-All in front of McGonagall's window, and that's when things change. McGonagall sees Harry flying around from the window. She sees him catch the Remember-All, and she comes down to the courtyard, and in her stern way, she instructs Harry to come with her.
Harry Potter, follow me.
Draco and his minions love seeing this. But rather than getting expelled, McGonagall introduces Harry to Oliver Wood, the captain of the Quidditch team. What's going on in there?
Could I borrow wood for a moment, please?
Yes, of course.
McGonagall tells Oliver Wood what she saw Harry do on the broom, and she is 100% in to getting Harry on the Quidditch team.
Wood, I have found you a seeker.
She even goes as far as to say that having Harry on the team would give Gryffindor the upper hand against Slytherin, and says that he could do things on a broom that would rival Charlie Weasley. And Charlie Weasley is described as a phenomenal Quidditch player. So that tells me either McGonagall is a huge Quidditch fan, or she just hates Slytherin that much that she wants to see him lose. At this point, I'm not sure which one it is. By that night, a lot of people have already figured out that Harry has made it on the Quidditch team.
Have you heard Harry Potter's the new Gryffindor Seeker? I always knew he'd do well.
And people are coming up to him, congratulating him.
Well done, Harry.
Fred and George come up to him and tell him congratulations. They let him know that they're on the team too, so they'll be in practice. And we even get another example of how good Charlie is when George and Fred said, "We haven't won the cup since Charlie left." And they'll say, "Yeah, we're definitely going to get it now." They have a lot of faith in Harry's Quidditch skills without seeing what he's done yet. Another difference between the book and the movie is Draco confronts Harry after that and challenges him to a wizard's duel. Of course, Harry has no idea what a wizard's duel is, but Ron is there. He's like, "Yeah, he knows what it is. Yeah, I'm going to be his next up." Ron's there to not just to fill in the blanks, but to really encourage Harry and really escalate things, probably more than they needed to. I wish this part would have been in the movie, because we would have saw Harry and Ron waiting up till midnight for the wizard's duel with Draco, and they're sneaking around Hogwarts.
Does anybody feel like we shouldn't be here?
Trying to avoid Filch and Mrs. Norris. And we would have also got to see Peeves if they brought the character of Peeves into the movie, which they didn't, but I really wish they would have. We would have got to see what a complete jerk Peeves is. In this particular part, he starts screaming, "Students out of bed, students out of bed," totally getting the attention of Filch and Mrs. Norris. And by the time Filch gets to where he is, we see in the book an encounter between Filch and Peeves, and I just found it so funny how irritating Peeves is And Filch is just so irritated and angry because all he wants to do is find who is up when they're not supposed to be. And Peeves is just being a jerk. We also see in this part of the book that while they're roaming the halls and trying to avoid Filch, they run into Neville. Poor Neville forgot the password to get back into the dorm, and he was sleeping out in the hallway, and he wants to go back to the dorm with Harry and Ron and Hermione because she is with them too. He makes the comment, "I don't want to stay out here. The Bloody Baron's already been out here once." Once again, the book makes the Bloody Baron out to be this scary ghost. And in the movie, we get
Bloody Baron!
Now, at this point in the book, we see the four of them, Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville. They encounter the three-headed dog. Now, in the movie, it's just the three of them encountering the dog. We don't see Neville as part of the group at this point because this whole scene is changed in the movie. Now we see them meet the dog and they almost die, but they end up escaping because J.K. Rowling needs to make more money. She's got more books to write. And after they escape, Hermione points out, "Hey, didn't you guys see the trap door?"
You don't use your eyes, do you? Didn't you see what it was standing on?
I wasn't looking at its feet. I was a bit preoccupied with its head.
Hermione may be an irritating know-it-all and a teacher's pet, but she's useful to the team, sometimes without even meaning to be.
It was standing on a trapdoor, which means it wasn't there by accident. It's guarding something.
Guarding something.
The rest of the night and into the morning, Ron and Harry speculate between the two of them what must be on the other side of that trapdoor. From here, the sequence of events between the book and the movie are different, so I'm going to follow the timeline of the book. The morning after the encounter with the three-headed dog, Harry's mind is quickly taken off the dog and the trap door and what must be behind that trap door that was in Vault 713. In the book, Harry gets a delivery from 6 owls and a letter from McGonagall. The letter states, "Do not open the parcel at the table. It contains your new Nimbus 2000. But I don't want everybody knowing you've got a broomstick or they'll all want one. Oliver Wood will meet you tonight on the Quidditch field at 7 o'clock for your first training session. Signed, Professor McGonagall." In the movie, things go a little bit differently. Harry's Nimbus 2000 is delivered by one Hulk Owl. And there's no letter from McGonagall, only a look. What? Another difference between the book and the movie. In the movie, Harry and Ron immediately open the gift right there at the table. And behold, the Nimbus 2000.
Behold, my stuff.
In the book, Harry waits until after dinner to unwrap the greatest flying broom the wizarding world has ever seen. At this point, Harry goes out to the Quidditch field for his first one-on-one Quidditch lesson with Oliver Wood. This scene seems pretty identical between the book and the movie, except for one line that was omitted from the movie. After the lesson, Oliver and Harry are walking away, and Oliver makes the comment that Harry could potentially be better than Charlie Weasley, and Charlie Weasley could have gone pro. Now that says a lot about Harry, but it also says a lot about Charlie Weasley. He must have been amazing at Quidditch. Could you imagine if Harry would have gone pro? Harry Potter, a pro Quidditch player? That's an interesting timeline to consider. Halloween morning, Professor Flitwick decides that he's going to let students practice making feathers fly.
The swish and flick. Everyone? The swish and flick.
Ron is paired with Hermione, and in the book it says that Hermione is pretty angry at Ron and Harry, and she hasn't spoken to them since the night Harry got his broom. That time frame isn't clear, but it could have been several days.
You're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
And I feel like that's a little bit of information that could have been used to build the story and build the characters a little more. That night at dinner, the students are eating. And boy, are they eating. I mean, look at all that. That is sickening. I feel terrible just looking at it. Now, Quirrell runs into the dining hall, yelling about a troll in the dungeon.
Troll in the dungeon! Troll in the dungeon!
And passes out right there on the floor. And the students lose control. It is chaos. In the book, it says it took several purple firecrackers from Dumbledore to gain the students' attention. In the movie, Dumbledore uses his dad voice and gains everyone's attention in a 3-mile radius.
Silence!
And Percy does not waste any time letting everyone know within that 3-mile radius that he is indeed a prefect.
Gryffindors, keep up, please, and stay alert!
And he will not be trifled with. Harry and Ron break off from the crowd when they realize that Hermione doesn't know and she is in danger. They get to the girls' restroom, and that's when they encounter this huge 12-foot troll that's ready to kill Hermione. Now, I really like this scene for 2 reasons. I think visually, I feel like it still holds up to this day. It still looks pretty good considering this movie's 20 years old, and it significantly builds Harry's character as a hero. Harry does not waste any time jumping on that club of the troll and getting on his back and doing what he needs to do to try to save Hermione. And I really think it's funny how Hermione and Ron are portrayed in this particular part of the movie, because even with her life on the line, Hermione is still telling Ron what to do.
Hurry up! Swish and flick. Wingardium Leviosa.
And Ron finally gets that spell right, and I love his reaction to it.
Cool.
Another reason I like this scene, I gave you 2 reasons. I'm going to give you a number 3. This, in my opinion, was a turning point in the friendship of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. This solidified that relationship. We see McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell come in after the fight with the troll, and Harry and Ron are basically facing a lot of trouble, and Hermione comes to their defense.
It's my fault, Professor McGonagall.
Miss Granger.
Hermione, completely out of her character, lies to McGonagall about why Harry and Ron were there. She tells McGonagall it was her fault.
I went looking for the troll. I read about them and thought I could handle it. But I was wrong.
So, not only did Hermione potentially face being expelled from Hogwarts, she faced tarnishing her own reputation as a teacher's pet. That tells me a lot about her, and I feel like that was a turning point in that relationship. Even when she was mad at Harry and Ron, she chose them over herself. That's a sign of maturity. I would even go as far as to say Hermione is a hero. Strong words, but hey, I'm going to stand by it. With that, I can't really think of anything else that stands out to me in these chapters, but I want to throw it back to you. What stands out to you? Leave me a comment. Go back, read chapters 9 and 10, listen to it in an audiobook. Let me know what stands out.